Hey Dragon Dreamers, Gina Virginia Casella here, and the one behind the Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective. Come dream with us. Your soul tribe awaits you. I do all kinds of things. Gemstone readings, mind reprogramming, energy medicine. At this time in my life, I've been redirected by Source to bring us together. The Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective through an umbrella term called Project 30, Isis Unity Consciousness. You're invited. Dream with us. Through dreams, half remembered and half misunderstood, we fill in the gaps for each other because we're all one. There's all kinds of times and dates lined up that I would absolutely adore for you to be a part of. And one of my favorite things to do is to assert that the Akashic records are not a permanent record because your past never defines you. And we can do what's called living consciously so we can die consciously. United are we. Be free. Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective awaits you. Dream with us. My name is Gina Virginia Casella, creator and visionary of Project 30 Isis Unity Consciousness. See you in dreams. Hey, Dragon Dreamers, Gina Virginia Casella here, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm a few minutes late, totally accountable on that one. Sometimes it's the technology, but today it was me because I ended up turning up the music and dancing around, and I lost track of time. So let me know if you can relate. I also, today's one of those days. I've had meetings. I woke up, brushed Rosie, and then I was diving right into meetings. These meetings were pre-scheduled in honor of the upcoming Summer Days Conference, June 13th. So make sure you follow me on Buy Me a Coffee to get the details about that. And also, while you're at it, hit the subscribe button on my YouTube. Make sure you turn the notifications on because days exactly like today, where I got caught up in meetings, I didn't have time to set a link, which is another reason why I'm a few minutes late today. So turn those notifications on so you never miss a thing. And I wanted to remind you to follow me on Buy Me a Coffee. It's absolutely free to follow me, and then you get in on stuff. So before we go on, I have a little note in the comment because I'll just highlight it here on the screen. I'm going to do some talking like I tend to do. Today I want to focus on the new moon, what I'm up to. This is live Hangout with yours truly, Gina Virginia Casella. Good time to connect, ask questions about my books, upcoming programs. I'm open. And at some point, though, I'm going to use my rattle. It's to help journey. And there's a really interesting activity. It's called left eye, left eye. um, and we look in each other's left eyes. Now, I can't see you, but you can see me. So I'll be looking into my left eye, pretending that it's you. And I'm going to shake my rattle. Sometimes it's going to start off gentle. Then it's going to get like hard and loud and kind of irritable, and then it's going to be gentle again. The pattern will change. You might feel a range of emotions. At one point, you might start hating me because it'll be annoying. It might trigger memories. And the idea is that you don't stop looking into my left eye. Okay, so I just want to put that out there because after I do my little talking, we're going to do left eye, left eye. And if you join in late or whatever, or if you're walking away and coming back, at least you'll know what we're up to, right? So, before we do left eye, I wanted to talk to you about the upcoming new moon and what your plans are. If you have plans, I like to work with the moon cycle. And so the new moon, better known as the dark moon, there's really no such thing as light moon, dark moon. The moon doesn't even have moonlight. It's the sun's light beaming, shining on the moon, and the moon functioning like a big mirror, if you will, reflecting on planet Earth. And that reflected light is better known as moonlight. And honestly, sometimes I forget that. I do. I get so used to calling moonlight moonlight that I sometimes forget, oh yeah, it's the sun's reflection and this business of the dark side of the moon. Well, of course it's dark. There's no sun on that other side. Otherwise, it would be lit up just like ours. And so I always found that really fascinating. So typically, when it's the new moon, that's when I really loosen and let go. Try to get rid of any junk, or if I'm going to do a cleanse, I like to do it during the new moon. Why? Because it's themes of life and death cycles, the big belly of the ocean, the great mother's womb. And that's where everything exists. And that's where things are born and die. And really, nothing's being born or dying. Things are manifesting, going back into the collective, in so many words, being recycled. So it's just like pulling things out of the ocean and putting them back in as we need them. And those very things swimming around in the ocean alchemize over time, those things, us. When it's the full moon, this is all in a nutshell, by the way. When it's the full moon, I like to work with themes of illumination, fire, cleansing. So even though I mentioned cleansing, like detoxicating myself during the new moon, I'm talking about cleansing with the full moon, in the sense that the light of the moon, the sun's light, remember, the light of the moon burns away whatever needs to burn away and shines light on whatever needs to be shone on. And for me personally, there's all kinds of really deep personal metaphors that I work with, and they don't always function in alignment with each other. And so if you're ever listening to me and you're like, yeah, but Gina, last time I was tuning in, you said this, and which totally contradicts what you're saying now. That absolutely makes sense, because I work with duality. Duality is so in my freaking face. Let me know in the comments if you can relate. What is, isn't. What isn't, is. We must be lost in order to be found. In order to be found, we must get lost. We must fall back in order to rise up, like that kind of stuff, right? And so it's this yin yang pull and pushing going on in my life. And I don't work with push energy anymore. I used to, that was part of my survival. I work with pull energy now. And so when I'm connecting with the universe, connecting with other people, I think about that. Am I pushing or am I pulling? If I was a stone and I were to toss myself into the ocean, what kind of ripple effect am I having? What kind of epigenetics am I providing? Um, because it's too easy to blame everybody else. We need to always do that deep introspection and remember that we too are part of somebody else's epigenetics. So just going back to themes of new moon and full moon, new moon is complete darkness. So typically it's a safer time, because in the animal world it's dark, you can hide, but you can never hide from those who have night vision, right? So very scary to crows, because crows can't see at night. So if I was an owl and I saw you and your family, that's a very big problem. You, as a collective crow community, need to start making lots of noise and scare me away, because you know what? Owls and other birds of prey, especially those with night vision, they work with full energy too. So now that they've seen you, they're just going to wait for nighttime when you can't see, and they're going to come dusk, dawn, probably dawn because you're still kind of sleeping and caught off guard. And I'll watch you, the silent killer that I am. And owls, they don't make any noise when they fly at all, not one sound. They might make like a clicking noise because they want to intimidate you. So they'll like bite their beak like that, like a clapping noise. But otherwise, when it's lunchtime, so to speak, they just go right in and they go right for the baby's nest. And all the crows can't see at nighttime, and it's just a big freak out, right? So the new moon, um, typically the odds are better because even though folks like owls can see at night, it's typically a safer time for the forest community. During the full moon, the moon, remember the moon's not lit up, the sun's reflection lights up the moon, right? So anyways, imagine the full moon, big, bright, white, feathery moon. It's like having a big light bulb in the sky. And without being around street lights, when it's just the full moon, you can pretty much see fairly well, right? That's how bright the full moon is, assuming there's no clouds in the sky covering it, right? So that's why the full moon is way more chaotic than the new moon, because now it's not just the owls that can see, it's other animals that um, who can't see at nighttime. They can only see during the daytime, but because it's the full moon, they can now too see at nighttime. And so folks like the crows now have night vision folks after them and daytime folks after them. And a lot of animals in the wild during the new moon, the darkness can become on the hungry side because it's too dark, it's too long of this darkness. They can get tired themselves from seasonal changes, wear and tear on the body, lack of energy. And by the time the full moon comes rolling around, they get really hungry and really fierce. And that's why the energy, for lots of other reasons, intensifies during the full moon because of this survival, this pattern of behavior, this large ecosystem that we all belong to. Um, so it's interesting when you investigate your past lives, which animal folk, bird folk that you connect with, and how all these connections take place. So, anyways, during the new moon, I intentionally, not all the time, but I intentionally like to wear black nail polish or brown nail polish because it reminds me of the avian folks, and it reminds me of like avian folks, like birds of prey, like eagles and their big black talons. And then I have like a yellowish skin. So I work with those metaphors. I I'll wear black lipstick every now and then, or dark purple, or dark red, or like I'm wearing a brown today. And it's interesting to play around with your makeup like that. When I think of like dogs and wolves, I think of the black lips, and it just makes me feel a bit more connected. And it doesn't matter what gender you are. I know there's a lot of men who wear nail polish and whatnot, not because they're interested in hair and makeup, but because they work with these kinds of themes. And very, very long ago, people used to um, people would find plants and whatnot and put temporary tattoos basically on their face to work with cycles and information, like I'm saying. So, very, very interesting. Uh, Myself personally, there's so much that I'm shedding and letting go from my old matrix. And so, even though I'm in my new matrix now, there's still like a clearing out, right? Clearing out, clearing out, clearing out. And so, uh, I have homework for myself, and sometimes that homework is more intensified. And so I um, I have a bunch of these. So this is like when I burn incense, the stick that's left I hang on to these, and when I do fire ceremony, that's what I use. I guess Rosie's got a lot to let go to this this new moon. So so during the new moon, you can let things go. During the full moon, you can let things go. Um, but when I'm starting a cycle, I like to start in the south with the shedding. And that shedding for me is representative of the new moon. So the new moon is it's going to be on Friday, April 17th, and today is Wednesday the 15th. So I've got a bunch of these sticks ready. And on Friday, I had to rearrange my homework, rearrange my meetings and whatnot in honor of this approaching new moon because I don't have time right now for this. And I want to make sure that I have time to do it justice and to really set the intention. Otherwise, it's not effective, right? So, part of my homework is just planning and preparing, getting things together that I might need. So, I just got a bunch of these sticks and I go through them fairly quickly, but I'm making it a point to keep these to the side so I have them. And then I started making a list of just bullshit in my life that, I thought these, reoccurring thoughts, they're still happening. Okay, well, maybe I need to engage in some mind reprogramming or something like that. But for what it's worth, I feel like I've had my share of mind reprogramming and extraction of intrusive entities, and it's never over, right? So even if you're like me and you've done this and you've done that, you still always have something that needs to be alchemized, right? And so, just one of my mentors, Alberto Villaldo, I like to use his oracle as a guidance. So at some point, whoops, sorry, Rosie, at some point I wrote my own oracle, the Dragon Dreams Oracle, which you can buy. Just check out my Buy Me a Coffee, my website. But Alberto Villaldo, when I feel like I need a second opinion, I need to turn to somebody outside of myself, I can turn to source energy, but source energy doesn't always talk back to me in a way that's clear and that I can understand. So the shaman needs a shaman. I need another biological, somebody who speaks my language. And that's the shaman's dream oracle. It was very powerful. I bought this a handful of years ago. And when I realized Alberto Villaldo was doing oracle, I was like, oh my, I can't believe he's doing um, pulling cards. Is that even appropriate? And then I was like, what? He wrote the deck? So I just was very inspired. And I haven't looked at these in a long time, actually, because I've written my own and I've explored other oracles since as part of my own healing journey. So I don't like to drop a lot of names or share a lot of resources um, because I like to stand on my own ground, stand in my own power. But I do feel like if you're feeling inspired and you want to know where my information comes from, that's one name that I like to treat as Dr. Alberto Villaldo. And another reason why I don't like to drop a lot of names is because when I was a public school teacher, I facilitated a lot for my union. And at the end of every um, workshop, we would throw up a list of resources that just went on for pages. And I stopped doing that because I realized in a positive way, some school districts had a budget, the money needed to be spent. If the money wasn't spent, then they weren't going to get that budget next year. So if you've got a list full of resources, just like that, boom, 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 sold, 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 sold. Okay, well, that's fantastic. But then what ends up happening, those resources end up collecting a lot of dust because they're too broad of the resources. And I found personally that the focus got lost. So I really like to keep the resources and names that I dropped very limited. So this is just live hangout. Thank you, Sukul, for your compliment. I see it there in the comments. So what I'm doing in anticipation of this new moon is I'm just keeping track of thoughts that I have, reoccurring thoughts that I have. I pulled one of Alberto's cards and it's called Me Talks. I never got this card before, and it talks about um, eating more healthier, getting back in your routine, and that was amazing synchronicity because I totally need to get back into my routine. I need to just my morning stretches, sun salutations, that kind of stuff. The struggle's been a little bit real. Like everybody, our schedules get thrown off. But for me personally, I was like, I need to like take charge now and make change. And then when I pulled this card and I got the detox one, I was like, yes, yes, yes. So I've got some big decisions to make in the next few months. Rosie and I are going to be relocating. And part of all of this letting go is part of those big decisions that I need to make. So, so what I like to do is when I'm pulling cards and I'm doing an activity like this, reflecting, I'll rewrite the card in first person and plug in my information. So I really transform it into my own creation and making. So when you do something like this, it doesn't matter how messy it is. You just get all your thoughts down and whatever. And at some point, though, I'm going to um, just make sure that it's clear what I'm communicating and make sure that it's all here. I'm not going to even rewrite it. If you want to rewrite it, you can, but you don't have to. It's all about intention. And like, even if I run out of paper, I could use the back. I could even write right over top of what I wrote if I randomly want to take a picture, just because you know what? I'm going to be burning this. So you just keep writing, keep writing. If you want to take new papers and keep it nice and tidy, you can do that. But it's part of the energy is going through the thinking and processing the motions that go with it, and that energy, in it's my belief, is captured in this chicken scratch writing of thoughts, um, and with the intention, I also have a firm belief that, let's say I forget to mention something, then it's okay. It's considered it written down. That's part of the energy and keeping it all here. So it's kind of like an energetic ball, if you will, that I'm creating on this paper and I'm manifesting it, and the intention is to set it free. So I'm going to be setting it free during the full moon. Prep for it is now during the new moon. So, how many of these sticks am I going to need? I don't know. I mean, I could need an endless amount, right? But there's a few key themes where I'm going to want one stick to represent one bullshit thought or one reoccurring um, thought that I keep having that I thought was void, but apparently it's not. And and I just keep track of it and I don't overthink it. And everybody's is different. And then just to add creativity to it and to spend more time with it, I blow into these sticks. And I don't know about you, Dragon Dreamers, but I find with me, I spend too much time talking to spirit. And I've come to realize that spirit has so many other languages and just the good old breath of life. This morning, when I opened Sacred Space, I actually didn't say one word. I just breathed it out, and I thought about it like the words, but the communication was through breath, and that nonverbal communication seemed to help me focus better, at least for this time. So, hi, Missy. I see you in the chat there. So what I'm going to do at some point is I'm probably going to take the colors red, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, pink, because those are the rainbow spectrum colors. And I'm going to color the stick. Maybe I'll color it all red. Maybe I'll color it half red, half orange. Um, I don't know. I don't know. But whatever I do, it's going to be creative. Maybe I'll do like a purple orange pattern or something like that. And then while I'm doing this activity, I'm breathing on the sticks, I'm thinking about it, the energy is imbuing, And then at some point, so this is what I'm going to be doing on Friday. I'm just collecting my thoughts up until then. Friday, I'm going to like read this over, add to it, um, spend time decorating these little sticks. And then what I'm going to do is I've got paper bags handy, and I'm going to fold this up nicely with the sticks inside. So it's like a little present, and I'm going to put it inside the paper bag. And I'm going to create what's better known as a dispatcho. And the dispatcho, it's like, in short, it's like sending a prayer. And it's not just something that you create and send it off. You create it, you let it sit for a while, to each their own, but it's something that you spend time thinking about. It's not something you do all of the time. So when you do it, you want it to be special, you know? And if you want to decorate the paper bag, you can. My mom had special Valentine bags. They were like full of red and white and pink hearts. So I used that last time. Um, if you don't have a paper bag, that's okay. You can just take a plain piece of paper, or if you have wrapping paper or newspaper, you just make it a point to wrap it nicely, you know? Um, and then something else to do, there's much to be said about a gazpacho, but something else that you would do is you would find things around the home. Uh, so Pachamama, Mother Earth, loves the booze, okay? Loves the sugary treats. So if you wanted to put like a piece of cake in there, or just good old sugar, honey, that kind of stuff, that would be well received. But you also want to put things in there like natural sugars, right? So maybe some dried fruit, something like that. Um, if all you have is like the raw white sugar, then that's what you use, right? But if you can find a higher quality, use that. If you have a favorite wine or a favorite beer that you enjoy, um, maybe take a little, like get your lips wet with it and then spritz it on, to show appreciation. Maybe take a piece of paper or maybe even one of these sticks and just soak it in a shot glass overnight and then add that to your gazpacho. I like to add pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. I typically have that stuff at home, lentils, and you can get really creative. So you spend all of this time with intention and viewing things. Some people, they make like a piece of artwork with different colored seeds and leaves, and they'll just leave it out in nature for nature to like take care of it all. But my recommendation is to do like a formal dispatcho, wrap it all up, okay, and then let it sit. So for me personally, I'm going to be doing this wrap up thing on Friday, and then it's going to sit with my mesa and my little altar area that I have here. And I'm just going to keep thinking about it, and every day uh, appreciating, even though I'm going to let this go officially with the full moon, I'm already pretending that I already let this go. This is just a formality, linear time doing its thing. So I'm looking forward to that. And then when the full moon comes rolling around, I'm going to take my special little paper bag of a gazpacho, and into the fire it goes. So the fire is the fastest way to transform something. And if you leave your gazpacho out in nature, please make sure there's nothing that's going to be harming the environment or animals, like plastic pieces of ribbons and that kind of stuff. Not a good idea. Looks beautiful, but really not a good idea. And that's one of the benefits about burning things too, is if you're burning a ribbon, you don't have to worry about it. And in the summertime, I like to collect stuff, snail shells in particular. Make sure they're empty before you take it. And the snail shell is really cool to put in the fire. I did that last year. There's a video on it. And the snail shell was just kind of like an extra that I added. I thought it was cool. I had it available. And as my gazpacho was burning, one of the very last things to actually crumble to ash was the snail shell. And it actually expanded a little bit wide. And then with the heat, it expanded upward. And it blew my mind because the snail shell is basically like an eggshell, so fragile and brittle. And yet, here we go with duality themes again, so strong, right? And I remember, you can watch the video. I took it out of the fire just to see, like, is this still even in form? And it was. And then it held its form, became ash, and then finally, um, so um, that's what I'm doing this full moon, this new moon. So wonder what you're doing. Let me know. Hi, Julia, Anchor Haven. I see you there in the chat. We're just talking about new moon and full moon preparation. And something else I wanted to note was earlier I mentioned when I'm working with themes, if I'm working with new moon themes, I'll wear black, dark clothes, brown lipstick, and it's a lot of fun because you don't have to spend a lot of money. Like I've got this, I don't know what it's called. It looks and feels like lipstick, and I put it here. And then it comes with a brush, and you try, and it's called contouring makeup. Well, I just used that brown for my lips. It's fine. And I have another one. It comes with like a gold color to put here to highlight your face. I don't really know how to use it, but every now and then when you see me with the goldish lipstick, that's what that's from. And I also have a silvery one. So you just use what you have and have fun with it. And then when it's the full moon, I like to wear the bright red color. Also for feminine expression themes and themes of sexuality. The moon, of course, is not a bright red, but you know, um, it also like red for womanhood. Red represents the adult woman, whereas pink represents the younger, like princess, if you will, and the red is the queen. So during the new moon, I'll also wear like pinky colors. So, anyways, that's just what I wanted to share with you. But now we're going to do left eye, left eye. Okay. And it's going to last about 5 minutes. I'm going to set my timer. You won't hear it. Maybe you will, but it's just like a very gentle sound that it makes to let me know. I got it set here 5 minutes. So let me just put my little message up in case somebody comes in the middle of it. So I'm going to pull this. Let me just put my stick here back. Okay. So make sure I put my notes back in here too. So I got it all in like a Ziploc bag, and I'd love to know what you're doing. If not this full moon, new moon, like what would you like to see yourself doing? You know, I like to know everything. Okay, so let me read the screen. So we will do left eye, which takes a good 5 minutes. So in case you join us in the middle of me using my rattle, uh, just get into the groove. Okay. So once you start looking into my left eye, it's this one here. Don't stop looking into it. Okay. Is it going to get awkward? Yeah, at some point it will, on lots of occasions. You're going to have feelings and sensations where you might feel annoyed of the sound of the rattle. It's like a storm. Some parts might get intense for you, other parts might seem more fluffy for you. You might find yourself getting lost in timelessness, and you might think, like, has it been 5 minutes yet? But keep looking into my left eye and don't stop. Okay. So first and foremost, let me know in the chat, can you hear my rattle? Can you hear this? You should be able to hear it. Let me know if you can hear my rattle. Okay, I'm going to just double check here. You should be able to hear it. I'm going to double check my YouTube. If you want to close your eyes and not look into my left eye, you can do that. But the point is to connect with me and for me to connect with you, even though I can't see you. So I'm just wondering if you can hear my rattle. So I'm checking on my YouTube here. View channel. Okay, there's a little bit of a lag. Okay, you can hear it, but it's not as loud as I personally would have liked it. So turn your volume up, okay, for the rattle. Put it in the chat. Turn your volume up for the rattle. So it's going to be really loud on my end, okay? And maybe what I'll do is I'll tie my microphone to the rattle. All right. Should be able to hear it. I'm just going to make sure, double check it. Okay, and there's a little bit of a lag. Okay, so tying the microphone to the rattle now. Okay, you can hear the rattle. Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So let me get this back here, or let me get this back here. All right. So if you haven't turned up your volume, turn it up. I'm going to be shaking my rattle for a good 5 minutes because there's a lag. If you don't hear anything, um, it's probably just because there's a lag and I've stopped rattling. Okay. So I'm going to bring this nice and close. This is my left eye here. Okay. And I want you to look into my eye. Look right into it. Okay. And full disclosure, when I put my liquid eyeliner on, like the black went right in my eye and I had to there's a little bit of a process. So if you see black in the white part of my eye, that's probably why. Okay, so ready for you to take all this in. Just breathing in. You won't be able to see my rattle, but you will be able to hear it. Okay, your focus is on my left eye, and maybe I'll keep my finger here. Okay, so if you need to look away or your eyes start watering, then just close your eyes, do that thing, but roll them around, but then look into my eye again. Okay. Okay, ready? We're gonna do this for 5 minutes and just go through the motions. All right, here we go. Mhm. Okay, timer's on. Keep looking into my left eye. Keep looking into my left eye. Keep looking. Look right into my soul if you can, okay? Get in there. My eye feels like it might get watery. That's okay. Okay. It's been 5 minutes. Mm. So it's been 5 minutes. There's a little bit of a lag. So left eye to left eye. That's just a little tiny taste of it. Um, I didn't even really go there with the rattle. I felt like I was just starting to warm up. And this is an activity that can easily last a good 7 to 10 minutes, even up to like 15, half an hour. Um, there's lots of reasons why you might want to do this activity with someone. If you do this activity with somebody like yours truly, somebody who has a shamanic background, then we can do what's known as journeying together. And it's kind of like my eye and your eye become one eye. And we share that vision, we share that space. And on a psychic level, I can see into your world. Now, it might not be presented in shapes that I even recognize. It takes me to a dream world and a map that I'm familiar with, that was introduced to me by the Four Winds. And you journey to places like the underworld, the upper world, and working with the power animals. And the information that comes to you is really incredible. And when I was using my rattle just right now, I was um, thinking about things that I said. Let me just push this back here. You don't have to keep looking into my eye anymore, or having such a close view of me. But thoughts that came to my mind was that folks out there who were tuning in, they didn't want to face the rattle. They were like, nope, I'm not doing this left eye to left eye. There was a sense of intimidation. You didn't understand what was going on. You're not sure you want to open up a can of worms. It's okay. This isn't going to be opening up a can of worms. This is just going to bring you to a place where things that need to be expressed can start coming and getting pulled out. So if you find that your thoughts are intensifying, something that, is on the back burner of your mind that you wanted to deal with, this would be a good time with the new moon. When I was doing this as well, I felt like there were some dragon dreamers who were tuning in who they weren't ready for the rattle, so they're going to catch the replay and do it again, sit down with a journal and get more meaning out of it. I also got a strong impression that there's emotional turmoil, um, thoughts like in a washing machine, just kind of getting beaten up, disorganized, mix around, that this is all part of a greater alchemy. And I also felt a sense of impatience, like wanting to hurry and speedy things up. Um, I know I'm resonating in that, and other dragon dreamers were too. There's like, let's just get this full moon, let's get this new moon over with. Let's hurry up and get to the full moon so we can burn and release all of our intentions type business. And so I'm curious, what thoughts, feelings, opinions might have come to your mind. And I'm wondering too if just the sound of the rattle might have stirred emotion within you, whether that was positive, negative, or whether you're coming from a place of indifference. So this is a really great tool. Um, the rattle, when I first was doing my shamanic training, I just thought, oh yeah, this is like, a rattle that'll break up energy. But I'm telling you, like, this rattle is probably one of the most powerful tools that I've ever had. And I bought this on Amazon. I wanted it to have specifically the pictures of the power animals at the Four Winds, the Andean medicine wheel, snake, jaguar, hummingbird, eagle, condor. But really, you can make your own. You want it to be bulbous so that it can have a swirling action. And that's really important too. When I do left eye, I like to get really loud and noisy with the rattle. And I was just starting to get the party started, if you will, but it had already been 5 minutes. But I like swirling it clockwise. There's what else am I stirring, And then I like to just work with the rhythms. Um, when you're doing your energy medicine, I myself was pleasantly surprised. Um, this piece of wood at the level of snake, just piece of wood, right? It's a cylinder looking tree branch with a coconut, and inside, I don't even know what's in here. Could be beans or lentils, something like that. And then somebody just carved pictures into it, right? That I added meaning to it. These tethered pieces here are from my dream scarf. I was hopeful to find like I was really wishful thinking, hoping for an eagle feather, but I was hopeful for like maybe a hawk or something like that. And I thought I wanted it to come to me. Um, and this came to me, and it just was reminding me that hummingbird energy, even the smallest person can make a difference, and that I didn't need a big feather. Um, this little guy here is when I'm removing crystallized energies from you, I take my incense and then I take this little feather and guide the smoke to cleanse. Um, it's like psychic surgery, if you will. You might be wondering what crystallized extraction means. So, a lot of us, probably all of us, are walking around like porcupines. We all have ancient weapons that have been lodged into us. And those ancient weapons are pretty basic, literally sticks and stones. And objects that I can't I mean, I can only describe lots of like bowl shapes and like a half bowl shape. And um, so what happens is like, let's say, using myself as an example, let's say somebody like bashed me in the head with a rock, and that's how I died in my past life. Well, in this life, if I'm struggling with headaches all the time, yeah, maybe it's because I'm irritable and things are going on, but maybe it's because in this past life I got smashed in the head with a rock and that carried over with me. And so there's a part of me that's still feeling that pain. And also the energy crossed over. And so, on an energetic level, that energy of that rock is still there. So it's like the ghost of the rock, if you will, is still on my head or wherever I got hit in the head, you know? Same if somebody stabbed me, if somebody penetrated me with like an old weapon, like a stick, and they sharpened the edges and stabbed me with it. Um, Even though, you know, on a biological level, that's over, I'm dead. Apparently, I shouldn't be feeling any pain. I actually, because it's a blueprint, and like all blueprints, I carry it over with the rest of my crap that I haven't dealt with if I'm not living consciously right into this life. And we can have conversations about activations. I may or may not be aware that I got bashed in the head with a rock, or that somebody, you know, killed me with a sharp stick or something like that, a spear. But when I start investigating my energy field and I start unpeeling the layers and peeling back all of these themes that I accept that I don't even understand, then spirit can really do its work, because you don't have to understand the noun. You don't have to understand the person, place, or thing and what it's called. You just have to understand, hey, there's something here and it's not normal because there should be nothing there. This is called crystallized energy. The energy has become so dense from the ghost object. If that's, I like to keep things simple, okay? So the ghost rock or the ghost um, spear that killed me in a past life, that as my lifetimes continue on and I don't deal with it because maybe I'm not even aware of it, I still carry it with me. And then one day when I become aware of it, or if I see a shaman or something and they become aware of it, it's like, whoa, whoa, how did I miss that? Um, and it might be because you had to deal with other things first, which can be frustrating, but we have to believe in the timing of things. And so what I'll do, or you can get another shaman, is we do extractions of crystallized energy extraction. Some people call it a heart extraction. And some people call this stale chi energy. So I don't get hung up on language, chi, stale chi, but it's basically energy that's old and stagnant, and it hardens and it thickens, and it gets in your way of literally breathing and moving on a spiritual and literal level. So it's important to have these kinds of conversations. And so when you're doing shamanic journeying, like just playing around with the rattle, seeing what comes up, what stirs, there might have been a part of your body that was stirring to try and communicate to you. Like, it's like, hey, rattle, come rattle your way over here and come break up this energy. It's like the rattle becomes personified like a snake, like it's looking for the hard energy that needs to be broken up, you know. There's much to be said. That kind of came out a bit scattered. I wasn't planning on talking about that, but the power of the rattle and just shamanic journeying, and you don't have to be a shaman to play around with a rattle, but when you're playing around, you want to play around with some reverence and set the intention and have a sense of seriousness when you're doing this. Um, and when you start doing this, the rattle might not make any sense because on a conscious, subconscious level, you're trying to figure each other out, right? And so, like anything, you just keep practicing, and it's like a martial arts, you build it. But I'm telling you, I wasn't planning on talking about this either. I just wanted to come on today for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. Who was I kidding, right? Like, clearly, I'm going to be on here for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, like I always am. But my intention today was to talk to you about the new moon, my intentions that I'm setting. I've got homework that's accumulating. Friday, when it's the new moon, I'm going to enjoy my homework, color it up, make a despacho, and then I'm going to imbue that and work with it until the full moon. And then the full moon, I'm going to be like tossing it into the fire. Then I just wanted to do this 5 minute um, rattle activity, the journeying, just to see what that might have stirred with you. And also to give you an idea of something that we can do if you book a private session with me. Now, we wouldn't spend the whole private session with me just shaking the rattle, but it would be a good 5 to 15 minutes. So there's different things that shamans can do. They can shake the rattle. They might have another tool that they use. Um, they might have like bells on a stick. I forget what that one's called. I don't have that one. But I do have this here. This is just from Christmas. And sometimes I'll just gently move it to make unpredictable noises. I don't know if you can hear it. So if I want to work with like fairies, for example, stone people, plant people, folks of this earth, if you will, elementals, I tend to go for the bells. But when I'm working with star nations, the source energy, or power animals, which is also part of this earth, I like to use the rattle. So something else that I like to use are the Gnome King's gemstones. So I'll just put this over here. There. The Gnome King's gemstones, I like to use that as a quick glance assessment. When you meet with me and you have a private quick glance assessment, what's going on with the Gnome King's gemstones, pull a card from the Dragon Dreams Oracle. I may or may not use the rattle. I may or may not do the bell thing. There's something else that I do where and it's called an access point. We all have one. So you just like find your access point. This isn't meant to be a teaching or a lesson. It's just me sharing out live hangout. But you can get your access point and bring it to your heart space. And then you bring it down to the level of snake, get perspective from snake. Bring it to the level of jaguar, get information from jaguar. Bring it to the level of hummingbird, get information from hummingbird. Bring it to the level of eagle condor, get information from eagle condor, and then revisit hummingbird, which is interesting. Revisit hummingbird, and information just comes to me. And so it's really fascinating, and trusting in yourself, trusting the information that comes to you, and trusting that you might not even understand it, but the client that you're working with, they understand it, you know? So there's lots of different ways to test you. I like to, first and foremost, like at glance, do an assessment with the Gnome King's gemstones. Just, it also helps to get the conversation going with people, but I don't do talk therapy. I like to dive right in there and transform your affinities. So um, we all have like spirals going around us, if you will, energy field amongst energy field. And that energy field, it's like a big spider web. It's mixed up with other people's, whether you want it to be or not. And let's say you do something like cord cutting, or you go through like these deep cleansing processes, you get something like a crystallized extraction. Okay, great. Well, no, not great, because if you don't permanently clear it with an illumination, those will very well come back to haunt you. Maybe not right away, but it's still in your field. So when you're doing energy medicine, less is always more, because whatever you're doing, you clear it and transform it and transcend it, but it's still floating around you like the crumbs, if you will, of the situation. It's still in your affinities. Well, no, you need to clear the infinities completely. There is no lingering. There's no lingering. And that's the power of transformation. That's what it means to be a shaman. You're not just providing somebody with a quick fix solution, you're providing somebody with a deep dive transformation, and it's powerful. And a lot of people, they feel really great after a session, but it's kind of like, it's just because you're hyper and you feel good and you feel self-motivated, but all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I need to go to bed early tonight. Or you might feel emotional and you might not even realize why. And it's because on an energetic level, your affinities are clearing. So you can imagine there's like a part of you that takes whatever crap is going on and gives it the boot right out of your affinities. And it's just an absolute thrill to be part of that process. And so if you ever see a hypnotherapist or an energy medicine worker and you're like, I don't believe that stuff because I did this and that and it came back. And it's like, yeah, because you just pushed it away. You didn't actually clear the affinities. So going back to the example of if somebody bashed me in the head with a rock or with a spear and killed me, like I could I could, undergo hypnotherapy and energy medicine where I convince myself that that's not me anymore, but I still haven't cleared the affinity, right? So hypnotherapy mind reprogramming is very powerful because you can clear your own affinities through that very process. But you know what? There's no shame in this. The shaman needs a shaman. We all have blind spots, myself included. Millions upon millions of blind spots for yours truly over here. And and we can't see our entire energy field. We can't. So we need somebody like a shaman to step into our energy field, which is forbidden, by the way. No one has any business in your energy field. And so it's the shaman's privilege, and the shaman becomes the hollow bone, if you will, for the greater spirit to do its work. And it's through the shaman that the greater spirit can um, journey through you and clear affinities. So let's say, for example, you did a soul retrieval session with me. Well, no, you're not. We need to do other work first and get you to that point of soul retrieval so you could have a successful soul retrieval, right? So when you book a session with me, I know what I'm doing. And that's why you don't have to worry, well, do I book this or do I book that? You commit to booking your private session, and I guarantee you're going to need to see me for somewhere between 3 months and 24 months, somewhere in there, depending on what's going on. Clear affinities, clear the layers. And I'm finding with my experience, mind reprogramming, if you have an intrusive entity, it's not going to work because the intrusive entity is messing around with the mind reprogramming. So I'm not even going to bother doing mind reprogramming on you until I'm convinced that you're clear of intrusive entities. And then once I do mind reprogramming on you, you might get another intrusive entity. So, like I said, it's never over. But the more you engage with this, and once you get to a point where you're in the clear zone, then you might only see me like once a month as a collective, just for general maintenance, or you might see me once every 2 months, twice a year, once a year, for the sake of general maintenance. So this business of seeing me with a private session month to month, that's not intended to be a forever thing. It's a buckle down and let's take care of business thing. And I'll tell you something, the mind can only handle one presenting problem at a time. So if you wanted to come and see me to lose weight, we would probably deal with the weight your second, third session, because I can promise you that you don't have a weight issue. You have an issue, a very serious presenting problem where you're scared and you don't feel safe. And at some point, probably in your childhood, you developed a blueprint where you said to yourself, I'm going to be big. I'm going to be big. And when I'm big, no one's going to mess with me. When I'm big, I'm going to be strong and I'm going to protect myself. Well, you never meant I'm going to be overweight and struggle with cardio. That's not what you meant. But what the mind thinks tends to be realized. And so that's how powerful you are. So until you mind reprogram yourself that you feel safe, um, the weight will melt off. Like you'll see, it doesn't even become a weight issue. It's an issue of personal safety, right? And so these conversations are so powerful to me personally because when I did my training with Marissa Peer, rapid transformational therapist, hypnotherapist training, I had no idea how much the rules of the mind clash and cancel each other out. And then when I did my shamanic training, and this is what's interesting, this is worth noting. Marissa Peer, who created RTT, made it a point to completely leave religion and spirituality out. There is zero spiritual anything in RTT. So if you, the client, want the hypnotherapist to say things like God, the universe, the greater spirit, the hypnotherapist can do that because the hypnotherapist needs to use your language, right? But outside of that, there's no spiritualism. So it's interesting that when I did my training with the four winds, it was like lots of overlaps from hypnotherapy, except it included the spiritual component, right? And then you've got folks like Dr. Bruce Lipton who focus on research on the literal level of cells and biology, and he seems to be piecing it all together. So for me, this is powerful synchronicity. And just the reason I share all of this with you is because, like I said, even if you don't understand it, you can't make sense of it, that's okay. You just keep the belief, keep the belief. And the more you feel like you're going crazy, the more that's your like there's an urgency for you to respond to the call because you're not crazy. You could have an intrusive entity, right? You could have a crystallized extraction. You know, maybe you're one of those people, geez, you've always had a pain in your right rib that you can't remember. You just always have had that pain. It's just normal for you to have that pain. You've been to the doctors, everything is fine, you know? It's probably a crystallized energy that you have, right? So going back to soul retrieval, the last thing you want to do is book a session with anybody and your soul doesn't want to return. Yeah, that's right. There's no refunds. Can you imagine booking a session with a shaman and being like, basically your soul doesn't want to return? uh, what? Excuse me? Yeah. Yeah. And you want me to be really brutally honest? You might get that multiple times over, that your soul uh, actually doesn't want anything to do with you. There's a reason your soul left, right? There's a reason. So when you book a session with me or anybody from the Four Winds for that matter, because we all have the same training, and our training varies too. Like my specialty is the Gnome King's Gemstones, the Dragon Dreams Oracle. I also do hypnotherapy. But some of my colleagues, their old matrices are shining through this one too. Like one of my colleagues, she used to be a judge. And so now that she does shamanic services, she actually is willing to marry people because she's legally allowed because of her licensing from her old matrix. I just randomly thought that was cool to share. But so for what it's worth, if you book a session with me, it starts with me testing you for intrusive entities because there's basically no point in doing anything until those intrusive entities get the fuck out of your energy field. They have no business in there. And as long as they're in there, they are feeding off of you. And that means feeding off of your life force energy. That's a very big problem. Okay. And it's nothing to be scared about. And intrusive entities, they might even, um, like, this is where you start to think you're going crazy. Did I just see a shadow? Did I hear a voice in my head? Okay, yeah, maybe you're having a spiritual experience, but it could be an intrusive entity. And the intrusive entity doesn't want you to know about it because then you're going to try and get rid of it, right? So the best case scenario for an intrusive entity is that you don't know about it. And if the intrusive entity screws up and you see its shadow or something like that, it just works with your own belief system that you're going crazy. And intrusive entities, they have their own personalities. Some of them might try and mess you up, like they might intentionally walk across your room at night. You can totally see them, but the intrusive entity is training you to believe that you are crazy. Isn't that something? Then there's intrusive entities that, oh shit, they didn't realize they were an intrusive entity. All they know is that something happened, they died, and they felt really confused and scared. And you were walking by and they clung to you and they don't know any different. You know, some intrusive entities, as soon as you tell them, like, hey, man, you're an intrusive entity, you got to go, they're like, oh, shit, I didn't realize, you know, see ya. Okay, I'm going to go now and it's over. But a lot of intrusive entities, they'll say, no, I'm not leaving. And they don't get dramatic or rude about it. They're really upfront. No, I'm not leaving. And so you have to actually physically stand up. And if you're on a wheelchair, then you have to like be as erect as you possibly can, literally standing in your power and telling the intrusive entity to leave. And if it doesn't leave, that's where I start to step in and I advocate on your behalf. And I tell the entity, you need to leave. So if you don't leave by your own free will and choosing, then I literally extract them. And it's a safe extraction. Shamans long ago, the intrusive entity would just get absorbed into their body, and the shaman would be sick. Shaman would be throwing up. And then eventually, when the shaman got like healthy again, that was the sign that the intrusive entity had been processed. Well, at some point, shamans realized that they could put the intrusive entity into a crystal, and then the crystal would like trap the intrusive entity just very temporarily, and then they could safely send it off either to star nations, medicine women, and men of the past, ascended masters, to take them on their healing journey, or they go downwards back to Pachamama, Mother Earth, the elementals, and they get broken down. What happens to them beyond that is really none of our business because it's their personal journey, respectfully. But what typically happens is they come back to you as an ally and they appreciate and have gratitude because it's not cool being an intrusive entity. It's a really hard reality for them. And they're very like sick and like shadowy and meek and unhealthy, even when they're in their strongest state. And you always have the power, not them. But of course, they'd like to convince you otherwise, right? So, out of all my tools, including my rattle, this one is the most important. It's not just any crystal, it's got um, 8 sides. It needs to have 8 sides minimum, and it needs to have a point on both sides. And one side is more narrow, and one side is bigger. So when I advertise myself as providing safe extractions, that's what I'm talking about. So your intrusive entity comes right into this crystal. And I'm not one to have sweaty hands. Like maybe if I'm nervous, my hands will get sweaty. But when I'm doing an extraction, my hands are like soaking wet. And that's my little aha, I got you. Like you're in here now. And when they're in here, they're not in trouble or anything like that. But when they're in here, um, usually it's, you have like a 24-hour period, but basically you want to send the spirit off the entity pretty much following the session. So um, I could use the same crystal to extract one, two, three, four, five intrusive entities, one right after another. I might extract 10 all at the same time. Sometimes it's like there's a portal that opens. There's intrusive entities that are just like, hey, there's an extraction going on that we can get in on. And they all like come and it's like, okay, whatever. So I just take it all in. But it's absolutely forbidden. And I thought that was interesting because there's lots of flexibility, but forbidden is uh, not a word I hear very often when it comes to modalities and whatnot. But um, so, like, let's say I have a client and I do um, uh, if I have a client and I do an extraction of an intrusive entity, then before I see my next client, I got to get busy and clear this crystal. So it's forbidden not to do that because if I extract an intrusive entity or more from a client, and then my next client comes in, the intrusive entity could go to that client. So it's forbidden. And when I extract the intrusive entity from the new client, then there's like a conflict here. So, and also when the intrusive entity is in here, it doesn't just stay in here forever. It does eventually find its way out. So there's lots of protection, like just having your window open. Um, I use sea salt, not sea salt, Epsom salt, because it burns blue when you put alcohol in there. And that's the kind of hot flame that you need when you're doing an extraction. So I wasn't planning on talking about extractions. I was just hanging out live with you today, talking about tools. And I'm reading your comment now. Skull spotter. Um, yeah, so like Skull Spotter, if you want to follow me. That would be great. It's free to follow me on Buy Me a Coffee. And Missy, I'm just reading your comment now, like 40 minutes later. I couldn't hear the rattle at all, even with my phone up, but it is a phone. I have done this in the physical. Okay. And then she says, it is a very cool looking rattle. Thanks, Missy. So, so yeah, like if you were to book a session with me, it would be over Zoom and not StreamYard, and then you would hear the rattle, Um, one disadvantage of using StreamYard is if you start messing around with the microphone, then like you can turn it on and off, but you can't unplug it, replug it in, and it doesn't have the same organized um, settings that I'm familiar with. But anyways, hopefully you can watch the replay and really crank it on a headset or something like that. or when I meet with you, we can just have some fun messing around with the rattle and see what comes up. So I'm always available too. Before I forget, Wednesdays 1:30 Eastern. I just hang out. Never know what I'm going to talk about. Might talk about some promotions like summer days. I've got all my speakers confirmed, but I'm not prepared to announce them. You're all going to find out who those speakers are at the end of the month. Those speakers have due dates, and putting up with my crap, which is, pretty good crap to put up with. Learned a lot of lessons from the first conference. There's a conference Bible that was like, 30 pages last time, but now it's like significantly reduced and there's a lot more clarity. So it's been a real thrill meeting with people. I still need, before I forget my thought there, so the presenters have due dates, like I need, an image, what their presentation is going to be called, a description. And so at the end of the month, they're going to provide me with that. And then I'm going to update the promo video that's floating around and actually put the names of the speakers in there. And so I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be like last time. We're going to have candle hype. We're going to meet the day before the conference. We're going to meet the day after the conference. The only thing that's different are the people who are presenting, and I'm charging money this round, $40 Canadian. If you're interested in a $10 discount, get in on the collective membership, Project 30, ISIS Unity Consciousness, because if you belong to that membership, you get bonuses. One of the bonuses, you just default to getting links for all of the online conferences. And so the first one, Promise of Spring, annually, that one's always going to be free, but the rest of them are going to cost money. And of course, as the years go by, that will probably increase. When you belong to a membership, any membership, Buy Me a Coffee, when prices increase, they always stay the same for current paying members. So there's actually one person who's paying $9 a month for the $30 membership. It started off as $5. And then that person left, and it's like, well, could have been $5 for the $30 membership. So, just a little bit of an incentive for you. So I feel really excited. Like I mentioned earlier, Rosie and I were looking for housing. We're not interested in paying somebody else's mortgage. Oh my goodness, their rental costs. And I find I would like to stay in Canada. I'd like to go somewhere warm. But, Rosie, my cat, she's going to be 11 this summer. So she's still like, she's just kind of in that middle age now, because cats like her are known to live. She's half ragdoll, half Siamese, and they seem to live anywhere from 12 to 20 years. Like, that's kind of a gap, right? So I figure uh, someday when the biological one known as Rosie carries on, um, I might be moving internationally somewhere warm. I don't know, some warm vacation spot, right? So who knows? I also have a dream, and it's actually documented in my book series, to buy a huge property, and over time make it like a campground in honor of the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective. So when we get together for conferences and stuff like that, we can just do that there, right? But it's maintaining it. So who's going to maintain it? Well, maybe I could live there and other people maintain the property. So I like to hope and dream. Let me know what you're hoping and dreaming. And one other thing that I wanted to mention was, for the conference, I'm still looking for any musical dragons. So if you play the drums or the guitar, or you have a band, or maybe you sing, or you do singing, healing singing bowls, hit me up, reach out. There's a post on my Buy Me a Coffee. I'll just put the link in the chat. I think it's already there. But I work with pole energy. So if you're interested, check it out. If you're interested in shining your light, June 13th, I could definitely use you. Could use you to provide some music for about 3 minutes. And then I need you again to provide a good 20 minutes worth of music. And then I need you again to provide about, I don't know, it was like 5 or 7 minutes worth of music. So reach out. If you've never performed before, this could be your first time. I'm open. If you have lots of experience, I don't care. I just care that you can responsibly commit and be accountable, responsible for doing what you got to do in the designated time frame. All right. So I don't really have anything else to share with you. I'm always interested in what you're up to. It's nice just to hang out live with you. If you wanted to have me on your show, Wednesdays, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, for the rest of 2026, I'm available. So reach out to me. I would love to be a guest on your show. I have too much to say, so if there's something specific you want me to talk about, I'm happy to do that. If you just want me to hang out, take any random Q&As from your audience, I'm happy to do that as well. Good opportunity for me to promote the conference and anything else that I'm doing. If you have questions about my books, questions about the Oracle, I keep looking here because I rearranged things recently, but my 8 books are here, my Oracle are over there. I got my flora. I made new flora. I made this with dried basil. Just put a chain on it. Um, my sister had some jewelry that she wasn't wearing anymore. And I also had some jewelry too. I've sensitive skin. So this necklace here was advertised as gold plated. So I thought I could save some money, but it found it to be itchy. So if you have jewelry, keep it for stuff like this. It works out, it makes it look fancy. And then if you lose it or it gets broken, um, you know, you don't feel so bad about it. Rosie's meowing away. Okay, well, I feel like there was something else I wanted to tell you, but there's nothing else that I want to tell you. Friday, I'm just going to be enjoying making my gazpacho and coloring those wooden sticks, getting maybe some chocolate and nuts and seeds to go into that gazpacho. I may or may not decorate the paper bag, I'm not sure. And it's just going to be sitting here with me um, in the darkness of the full moon. And it's gazpacho, so it's kind of like a seed, if you will, that I'm planting in the dark womb of the Great Mother. And then the cycle from the new moon to the full moon, it's kind of like the pregnant mother's belly is growing and my intentions are growing. The things that I want to release are getting closer and closer to being released. And then finally, when the full moon hits, yay! I'm going to put that gazpacho in the fire to transform it officially. And the full moon is going to burn and cleanse anything else that's around me. And I'll probably make a video at that time of it. I haven't made a fire ceremony video in a while because it's just been too cold and too snowy, like to make space to do it. But I've been using my candle indoors and walking around the candle, singing my little chant, and doing what I got to do. So I'm looking forward to the next new moon. Um, because we like to put the olive oil in there and that's just a little bit too dangerous for indoors, you know? So also this time of year, April, is themes of war, the warrior goddess, Skyhawk. And so I work with that energy. And then the next month is like I might have my months mixed up, but this time of year for me, it's like the warrior goddess, feminine energy, like getting your menstruations and healing with the earth, healing with the land. And then finally, it's going to be summer. So this last hurrah of the spring, if you're feeling intense, that could be why, because those greater themes. And, you know, those themes are archetypal energies. You don't have to take them in, right? So any negativity that you might feeling, um, somehow you took that in, and you have the power to take it out as well. And just like the yin yang, sometimes we need, um, like when it comes to negative feelings, negative archetypes, we require them. They all have a role. We just don't want those negative feelings or negative archetypes to rule us. Same with the positive ones, right? We want to be in a state of balance. So I got Rosie here. We go to the vet on Wednesday, April, or no, on Monday, April 20th, for her little check in on her nails and to get her nails trimmed. So I'll let you know the update on that. She's been getting extra wet food. Um, she used to get it once on Fridays, but now she gets it Wednesdays and Fridays. So now she's doing this thing where she's starving herself on the in-between days because she just wants wet food all of the time. So let me know if you can relate. And yeah, she my little foot good honey, honey. Do you know where we're gonna live this summer, Rosie? You know? So all right. Well, it was nice to hang out with you today and to talk to you about my new moon. It's been just over an hour and a half. There's lots of synchronicity. Lots of synchronicity yesterday on Story Species, Story Medicine, Extra Strength with Suze Gallagher. The spider web kept coming up, kept coming up. And then I didn't even notice until after. I was just scrolling through the replay. I was wearing my white bathing suit with spider webs and spiders on it. So I was like, that whole time you can see my strap and it's got spider webs. And I'm like, there's more synchronicity right there. So love to know how synchronicity is showing up in your life. I'm really enjoying StreamYard. I'll put the referral link there in the chat. If you're looking to level up with StreamYard. Give it a try. You can save some money through my recommendation, have some fun playing around. And I don't see any more comments in the chat. Just on a final note, I guess, these other tools that I have, these knives, they're used for cord cutting. They're supposed to be blunt, okay? They're not supposed to be sharp. And you can see it has the same dream scarf that I have. So when you're cutting cords with somebody, I use these to do that with. All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. Gina Virginia Casella here, spiritual biz entrepreneur, the one behind the Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective. And I would absolutely love for you to join the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective. Love for you to follow me on Buy Me a Coffee. It's free. And I would absolutely adore if you registered for one of my programs. Book your private, change your thinking, change your life. All right, Dragon Dreamers, take care. Bye from me and Rosie, and we'll see you next time. Have a great new moon. And I'm trying to leave here. Okay, now I'm leaving, this time for real. Okay, Dragon Dreamers, take care. See you next time.